YouTube, here it is finally. I've been promising you a video about my workbench. This is part one of, I think it's going to be a 12-part series. And I'm going to go through all the different stages of construction. Just in very brief, quick format, we've got a big Veritas 900mm twin screw vise over here. We've got a Veritas quick release front vise over here. Oh, I got broken ribs and that did hurt. The bench top is 75mm thick laminated combination of Oregon. Wherever I've got dog holes, I've got hardwood. It's got a very big, chunky, thick spotted gum frame. The legs are 5x4, so roughly 100 by 110, 115mm. Spotted gum that's been laminated at tiny little bits and pieces. The rails are big and chunky as well. Again, the whole thing's been made from scratch, so I've not bought any wood. I've paid next to nothing for this other than the vices. That's about all I've had to pay for. There's a big 3-drawer unit here with very long drawers to make use of the length. And the drawer front was a piece of New Guinea rosewood that I found on the ground on a building site. New Guinea rosewood on a building site. The top has a gap, which is where I put my domino and other tools and stuff while I'm working. Over here, conveniently mounted in a custom-made holder, I've got my vice rack stop. So let's get straight into part one. Rightio guys, welcome to part one. So here, what you're going to see me do is just glue this top up together from the boards that I have already previously milled. What you're seeing me do right now is just glue up segments of the top. And I've glued the whole top up in segments big enough to fit through my joiner and thicknesser. And you can see this is either the front or the back section because it's got the mortises for the legs in it. And I'm using 12mm dominoes to basically just act as an alignment tool when I join it up later. Okay, so I test fit each section, make sure everything's okay, and then I pull each test fit apart and glue it together. Now I made it in I think about a total of 4 or 5 sections about that wide so that I could easily manage them and fit them through my joiner and thicknesser. And looks like I may have lost my earmuffs. Don't know how my earmuffs always end up over there, seriously. You can see this piece of hardwood that I'm dominoing into now is joined together from 3 bits of scrap. This whole workbench has been laminated together from scrap bits of hardwood. Whatever's not hardwood was leftover Oregon from a job. They were Oregon studs, and in Australia they come as 100x50 and they're wet. So these were air dried for a very long time, for a few years, before I finally came up with a use for them. And I just used Titebond 2 all the way through this build. That's the best combination of both strength and setting time for me. It's Titebond 2. Now I've taken care here to make sure that I'm not letting too much glue squeeze out into those mortises, because then I'd have to clean it up later. And I'm also being careful to not accidentally glue these segments to each other. Alright, now you can see me using clamps top and bottom. That's to prevent cupping. If I only glued the bottom, clamped the bottom, it would curl up. So got to make sure they're even. After I glued each section up, I took it to the jointer and thicknesser and I flattened the top like you're seeing me do now, and then I straightened and made 90 degrees to that top one edge. The chalk's there just to make sure I haven't missed any spots. Okay, now because these are real thick at this stage, are about 80mm thick, too thick for the table saw, I've just got them parallel on the thicknesser, and that actually does a much better job. I don't have to go back and clean it up. So once I've got the edges parallel and straight and one top face cleaned up and straight and flat, I use that face as the reference to straighten and thickness the bottom side. And I did that to each segment so that when they came together they were nice and straight and square, and I didn't have to spend hours planing. So here I've got all the segments lined up and marked up for dominoes, and I'm putting dominoes in basically to act as an alignment tool again, so that I don't have to spend hours planing afterwards. And I've taken great care to make sure those dominoes don't intersect dog holes. Now you're going to see very soon that these dominoes are an extremely tight fit, and I had to get them together with this beautifully handcrafted spotted gum dead blow mallet. Just an absolute joy to work with. And if you want to see how I made it, you can watch my video on that, which will be in the description. So you can see I'm having to smash these together fairly tightly. And at about this stage here, I started thinking to myself, how am I going to get this apart again? And I came up with a great idea, which you will see me employ. And I've also made a separate video of it too. And someone's talking to me, not really listening to what they're saying. Probably my wife. That's right, she never watches my videos, so I'm not going to get in trouble saying this. And a dry fit's a necessary evil, like you know it's going to be a lot of extra work. Here we go. So I'm using the dog holes with a quick grip reverse to act as a spreader clamp, and watch this, there you go. You got to be careful not to go too far because you'll bruise or snap your domino. And then I can carefully get a wide chisel in there and separate it. And here's son number one helping me, the eldest, with the glue up. And just look at us here, DNA in action, like a well-oiled machine. And because I did the test fit earlier on, I know that all this is going to go together well and there's not going to be any issues. So we just went ahead and glued it all up. Now I left that for a few hours before coming back and putting on the next segment. And here's son number 4. And he's doing his bit, but mostly he's just talking my ear off. Telling me about what he did at soccer, playing Minecraft, and a million other things. So when I started to go insane, I decided it was time to give him a kiss and send him to bed. There you go, son. Good night. Off you chop. Alright, so these holes, the dog holes, I did not use a drill press, as you can see. I found a self-feeding bit, and the drill guide there was accurate enough and square enough, and quite a lot faster. And I did fall off, but I did edit that for you, so you didn't have to watch my embarrassment. Now I've used 20mm dog holes so that I can use all my MFT accessories, and I found that all my 3/4 inch accessories also fit just fine without any issues, and that might be because the dog holes are 75mm long. Alright, now here's the painful process of chamfering every single hole with a router. I was going to use my trim router, which would have been a lot easier, but it had no dust extraction, and that would have been awful. And I've spared you the joy of having to watch me do all 100 holes. That concludes it for part 1. Thanks for staying with me, guys. Now in part 2 you can see I'm going to be preparing that front apron, and yes, it will be a whole video about preparing the front apron, but it will be a shorter video, and it'll probably come out in the next few days. Thanks guys, please like, subscribe, check out the rest of the build as it comes out over the next week or two, and yeah, I love you, and I love woodwork, and you're all beautiful, and thank you. Bye bye.